First and foremost, that was incredible.
That was great.
Absolutely awesome. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Metal Maniacs Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Ingersoll, and I'm here with a man on that side of the table, so he's trapped in a corner.
It's your boy Modd. What's good,
up,
Jay?
Buddy?
Hell yeah.
So I brought the intro back, just so you know.
Yeah, I was upset the one time. I really made a stink on air. I was like, I almost quit right there on the spot.
Podcast over.
I mean, that's the only reason I show up is to hear the introduction. What random thing am I today, this week?
You know, I was trying to keep it like metal themed too, because I was thinking of all these other ones that, or at least like rock and roll metal themed ones. You know, I was thinking about all these other ones like hip hop and stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna keep it metal. But then when you're like, "Where's my intro?" I'm like, I'll put some effort in there. We'll get back on it.
Thanks.
I don't have to.
Yeah, I might stare at you blankly with a hip hop reference. I might not get it.
Right. Or our audience won't either.
Not a lot of rap fans out there. No, we love rap, but I might not get a reference, but
right.
Good times.
Well, so you went out to a show last night, huh?
I did. Man, what a commitment. The bill was 2 stacks for me to pass up.
Oh, that's why it breaks my heart that I didn't get to go.
And you know, one of the bands I wasn't familiar with, they ended up dropping off, and then they added Go to Kira. And I'm like, well, that's a band I know.
Yeah.
So they kicked off the show. They did great. All the bands on there, let me see if I can run down in my mind here. We had Go to Kira. We had Necrium, Mouthful of Locust put on the show. Recorruptor was out there. Accuser of the Brethren closed it out. Bronson Arm was on there. I think that's everybody.
Yeah.
So just everybody we've had on the show in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
And we did a clip, just a short interview with Bronson Arm. We're going to be meeting them soon.
Yeah, next week. Actually.
Yep. So I talked to those guys. I talked to mostly everybody that was out there,
nice.
You know. So
yeah, I seen that Recorruptor or Clint and Seth were talking about me online there in the post or whatever.
Yeah. Like, bring Jay. Yeah. Like, I don't think he can make it. He knows. He knows.
I would have loved to win. We had our family Christmas yesterday, finally here in March, 6 weeks after the fact or more.
Just shy of St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, exactly. We did Easter, St. Patrick's Day, and Christmas all in one. Nice. No, it's actually where I got this hoodie yesterday.
Oh, very nice.
It was pretty sweet.
Like
the back's really cool, too.
Oh, yeah.
But, it was just one of those things where we're going to do it closer to Christmas. Yeah. And then it's just so many things going on around Christmas. My brother has a boatload of kids, and kids are always sick and stuff, you know. So we kind of just had to push it back, but it was nice just to be able to focus on that and have some family time and seeing all my brother's kids. And
it's cool that you got to follow through with it 3 months later.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
It sucks that it had to be that late to get everybody in the same room, but at least you stuck with it, you know, and made it happen. That's cool.
It's also nice, too, because around Christmas, you have all these financial obligations to, you know, so many different things and buying people presents, this, that, and the other thing. So when you have it a few months after, it kind of lightens the load a little bit, too, because then you can kind of just think about the other Christmas after Christmas, you know? So you're not just, especially with buying for all my brother's kids and stuff, too.
Yeah.
You know? So he's got 4 different kids, you know, so.
I think it's tough just having to, like, put forth the financial effort to make it a holiday. I feel like we're kind of we're living in that world where, like, oh, you got to spend money on Christmas, and, you know, unless somebody goes out of their way and says, hey, don't spend money, it's too tight this year, then most people are still going to feel like, you know, the obligation to spend the money. I do for my family. I'm like, I can't not spend the money, you know, like I got to go get gifts. It kind of sucks when you don't get gifts on Christmas. Yeah. It's just the way it is. I mean,
the big burner is the when someone gets you a gift and you didn't get them one because you had the agreement that we're not getting gifts, and then you sneak one at me, and I'm like, yeah, little son of a bitch.
I meant what I said when I said what I meant.
Yeah, and then if you don't get anything, don't be sad because that was our agreement. So I did something that brought me joy yesterday. So you know how I got that LTD?
Yes.
I was going to start using that as – I didn't know if I was going to use it live. I wanted to because of the EMGs, but it doesn't have the bar, and I have parts that use the bar, and I like using the bar, so I might just stick with the old faithful that I've been using for 15 years. You know, one day I'll get something else that I really can, but you know, play on stage. But with that guitar, I figured maybe I'll just slide that into my backup. Well, I was using, remember that red Ibanez that my brother had when he was in the band or whatever? Well, I had bought that from him for like $150 or something. It was just, he was selling all this stuff or whatever, you know. But he did say, like, one day I'm going to get that back from you.
Okay.
So it was just kind of like, I just hung it on the wall in there. And I'm like, what am I going to do with it? I have 4 different electric guitars. It's cool to have a collection and say, here's my collection, you know. But I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to give it back to him for Christmas. So yesterday we wrapped it all up. He wasn't expecting it, and he was like all super happy with it. So it was kind of cool because he didn't expect it at all. And it wasn't like a, you know, spent money on it. But I'm like, what am I going to do with it? He wanted it back. It meant something to him because it was kind of like his first guitar that he played out in bands and stuff, you know. So it was just one of those things where I gave it to him, and he was like really happy about it. So that kind of warmed my heart to be able to do that for him, you know.
Yeah, it's nice, especially if you didn't have any use for it and you knew it meant something to him. Yeah, go ahead and pass that back. So.
I love the guitar. It's a beautiful guitar. I mean, even still to this day, like looking at it when I was about to give it to him yesterday, I kind of wiped it down or whatever. I was just like, there's really nothing wrong with it. No nicks, no surface scratches or anything like that. Just a nice looking guitar. Played pretty nice, and I'm like, I could just be that guy that's just hoarding guitars, but you only play one at a time anyway, unless you're Michelangelo Badio and you have the dual and I'm so far from that. I'm not strapping on 2 of them bitches, that's for sure.
That's funny.
But yeah, so that was kind of cool just to be able to get that back. And like I said, what am I going to do with 5 guitars?
Should have like baited it and then been like, only if you play it. Only if you're going to play it. Otherwise, I'll just keep hanging it on my wall instead of yours. No.
Well, I
know he can still play.
I think he does do some playing, but just not enough to want to.
He's busy.
Do anything. And like my dad bought him a Paul Reed Smith not too long ago, and he also, his wife bought him this really badass like Ibanez custom shop, but he didn't really like the way it played. It kind of didn't stay in tune or something, so I don't know what happened to that. But when we're starting to put those songs together, the ones that we are going to start working on way back in 2020, just them first little 3 songs we were working on, that's what he was playing, was that brand new Ibanez that his wife bought him. But so he's got a handful of guitars too, but I know he ain't that serious about it. But hey, you don't have to be. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah, you know, it's funny how life changes, you know. Obviously, I've known you and Nolan forever, but Nolan was a little kid, like 6 or something, or even younger maybe, when I first met you, and playing the video games, the wrestling games and stuff, and the Pokemon and all that stuff. But, you know, now he's a full-grown-ass man and got the kids, and he's got the full-time job, and it's just kind of weird how the years pass by, and then you're like, you're looking back, and you're like, oh, I remember when he was just a little kid. Yep. Now I got a kid that's older than when I met him, you know, but not by much. But it's crazy. Yeah. But I get it. You don't make a lot of time for playing when you got the kids. You kind of like, that's your playtime.
Especially for him, because he's the second shift guy and his wife's on first. So it's just this constant revolving door of, I get up early even though I work second shift. I still get up at 6 to get the kids to school. So he's just like on this constant cycle of grinding all day long. But that's also happens when you have kids, because them are your responsibility and they got to go to school and they got to be fed and they got to be entertained and all of those things, you know, that come with that. And you got to spend time, you know, be a dad and all that stuff. So but I'm proud of him. He's a good kid. So
good.
But anyway, we are here to do another reaction episode today.
Sweet.
I think we got 8 for this episode slated, and that's what we're trying to do going forward. I will reiterate this again for anybody that actually listens to this part of the show. I've had a lot of emails in our email saying like, hey, you haven't got to our song yet, so maybe could you try this new one, or could just checking to see here's the whole album in case you didn't. And it's not that we forget about you. I try to send an email back that says, hey, you're in the queue, but the queue is pretty long, you know, and these episodes aren't 2-3 hours long. We're not doing 30 songs an episode. That would just be too much. I feel like we pushed it to 8 now to get a few more in.
Yeah.
But I just feel like if we did even more than that, it would almost be too much to me. Like, you can't really give that many songs feedback without almost being exhausted by the time you get to...
Yeah, we could do one of these almost every week, it feels like, in addition to everything else that we do. But that's what the podcast would become. It would just be us reacting all of the time. I don't think we're quite settled on doing just the one dynamic of the show. It's about everything else that we do, having the bands in, having the other discussions that we have. But yeah, we do our best. We absolutely, you know, get it in when we can get it in. It is a long queue. So, thanks for all the bands for being patient with us, and hopefully everybody understands that, like, they just kind of go in chronological order of when we receive them. We're not looking at band names. We're not looking at follower numbers, any of that, nothing. It's just like timestamp the date that we received it, goes right in the list.
Yep.
That's it. Like,
that's exactly what happens, dude.
So,
but I will say this before we jump into this episode. Man, we've had some bangers lately, though.
Yes.
Especially that last episode was like all bangers, dude.
Yeah.
Just like all bangers. So maybe that won't continue to happen. Maybe that will. Who knows? We could get some funk project. Who knows? I don't know what these people are sending us. I really don't. It's just weird because we have now bands all over, everywhere, that are just like, hey, I seen, you're looking for submissions, or I heard this band on your podcast. Like, well, I think we'll come across one of these. It's either in this episode or it'll be in the next that I was reading this morning before. It was like, hey, this guy is in this band and heard his band on there. So maybe, so it's just like this. So the word's getting out. So that's cool for us, I mean, that means that at least people are aware of the podcast,
Worldwide.
Yeah.
Taking over the world.
Yep. Good thing for the internet.
Love it.
So if you're ready to get into this today, I am, buddy.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. I know you're a little groggy.
Oof.
Played that metal card hard last night, buddy.
Driving in the dark, though, that's the worst part. And it's raining, you're not on the highway. Even stretches of the highway be dark. But, yeah, I think that's the mental exhaustion of it, like just the long-ass drive.
Yeah.
But a few attaboys from the people at the show, they're like, hey, man, 2 hours. Good to see you. Thanks for making the effort.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, man. Yeah, Bill was too fucking stacked.
Yeah, dude.
Bill was way too stacked to miss out. I had my eye on that for a long time, so I looked at Amy. I was like, I really got to go to this. Like, this is a boys' night solo out. Lone wolf it. And she was cool with it. She got in quality time with the daughter. So, but more metal for me. It was 2 hours of metal in the car, 5 hours at the show, 2 more on the way home just to stay awake. Wake up late, more metal. Let's go.
Yep. So we'll just clip that out and play that back for anybody who thinks that Modd's not about that life. You know what I mean?
I'd still be about it like a kid, man, like a young man.
No, that was one, too, I really wanted to go to just because, like you said, we knew everybody on the bill. Everybody's either been on the show or we have some kind of everybody has been on the show on that, right?
Yeah.
Besides Bronson Arm, and they'll be here next week. So
and we did that little interview with him at the show.
Yeah. And that's all the way done, too, so look out for that if you don't see it quite yet. The Heart on Your Sleeve Fest 2 wrap up. I sent it to Chantel to get some feedback.
Okay.
Just to catch anything maybe I didn't catch, but that'll be out real soon. I spent a whole lot of hours editing that thing. So
nice.
All right, reaction episode 15.
Let's get it.
So our first band, Ethereal. Hello, we are from a It says we are from a Portuguese metal band named Ethereal. And we are going to release our third album November 2nd, 2024. Here's our EPK with the whole album and with all the media, bio, word, cover, band pictures, etc. in the media section, all with clickable buttons for your review. Thanks, and will be available for anything you need. Cheers. And we got phone numbers, and we got all this other stuff. Feel free to use the YouTube videos, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, they sent us 2 video links and a couple of Google Drive links.
Yeah, so I think we're just going to go with this video because it's the easiest one to click, I think.
Top single.
Yeah, so he said this is our second single, too, but it looks like maybe Turmoil was the first one.
Yep.
But let's go with the second one just for the fact that this did come out last year in November, and they're probably promoting the second single by now, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So, bear with us while we see what this YouTube link does. Sometimes you never know.
The Allure of Daria is the name of the song, correct? See what you pull up, if it's the same.
Yeah, hold on just a sec.
Gotta get them ad blockers. All right, hell yeah.
That's right. So, let's just make sure we got some volume here. Make sure my shit's turned up.
My poor ears.
Yep. Here's some more for you. Let's see. Here you go.
Hell yeah. Delicious.
Yes.
That was good.
That was tasty, bro.
That was really good.
Yes.
So Ethereal with The Allure of Daria. Sounded like some power metal. I would throw that in with power metal, kind of. What?
Yeah.
But really good. Melodic, the most important thing.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of groove, a lot of in the pocket work there. So they didn't get carried away with any other beats. Again, with the thrash or the grind, that their style easily could have gone a lot of ways. I can tell they got some players in there.
Yeah.
Like they had almost a progressive element where I felt like they're going to be able to showcase a lot of different things. One thing I'm glad they got in was that guitar solo.
Yeah.
Because every time they went to like either a chorus or even like a post-chorus type situation, there was that melody, there was that second guitar that would come in chirping, and I just felt like there needs to be a guitar solo in the song. I was feeling that the whole way, and thankfully they did have a really good one too at that.
Yeah.
Like a nice tasty lead in there. You got all kinds of vocals in there. You've got the clean male vocals, you've got the clean female vocals, and then you got the fry vocal in there too. So I loved all of that. Just a really great song. I like that a lot. So good send-in, good riffs. Just love the melody all day in there. I love the vocal diversity too, the storytelling, even if you will. So for those that are watching, if you get a chance to watch the video as we did, you'll see that it's basically characters speaking back and forth.
Yep.
So it looked like some sailors being captured by some mermaids, if you will, becoming their slave folk. But cool story, cool video to go with it. Really love the video. I think I want to shout that out too. Is whoever put together their lyric video did a great job. They had a good vision for it. They understood the assignment, and the parts that they repeated just were. I'm like, oh, that's a cool image. That's great. I'm glad they brought that back. But really good job. Jay, what do you think?
So, love the song structure.
Yep.
I'm a big proponent of that. So it was cool to have the callbacks because even the second time they came back to the chorus, already it helped that I was looking at the lyrics, but like it was kind of like the pattern was already in my head. And to me, that's what makes a great song, right?
Yeah.
So great, tasty riffs. I didn't know the cool thing about this song too is the way it started. I didn't know if it was going to blast into some grimy death metal. I didn't know even what was going to happen. Then they kind of started singing almost like power metal, but not over the top either.
Right,
it was just the vocal. It was just a really cool, clean vocal.
Yeah.
And then you added the fry, so you didn't really overdo it with the heavy vocals. So you're not really turning off people if they're not into that with this more rock, hard rock metal style, right?
Sure.
And then I didn't really see that solo coming just because I didn't know if we were going to go into a breakdown. Then all of a sudden they kind of went into this hot rocking like guitar solo, which was totally cool. The phrasing on the solo was excellent. Excellent. Like you said, call out to the melodies. These guys have great sense of melody and song structure as far as writing songs. And sometimes I just really like to hear that. But man, I thought it was an absolutely great send-in. I've seen some of the art. The art looks cool as heck. So these guys have a great grasp on what they're trying to accomplish.
Love it.
But shout out to this lyric video, just the cool scenes. You kind of felt immersed in it, and part of it with the whole water theme and the rain coming down and, all the sounds. So, man. And then you kind of don't know, it says, I'm assuming, because he says they're Portuguese, right? So I'm assuming they're from
Europe, right by Spain there.
Yeah, so you kind of don't ever know. You didn't know you could get some gore grind. I didn't know really what was happening, but like,
kind of reminded me of like maybe some old school Lacuna Coil, and I see they hashtag themselves as more doom metal, and that's fair too because it did have like a really melodic sense with the power metal, but it wasn't like too upbeat, triumphant sounding, and it didn't have like the soaring high male vocals that you get in a lot of power metal bands. So to call themselves doom metal is fair as well. I mean, Draconian is another band that comes to mind when you listen to that style of music. I would say they fall in that category very nicely. So
I even heard like kind of shades of like thinking of parts just with his clean vocals, some light hints of Nevermore or even Control Denied. I've seen like maybe not as progressive or technical, obviously, but like just the structure and the way he voiced his patterns and stuff vocally, I just kind of felt some of that coming through a little bit too. So
and great patterns too. They repeated a lot of vocal parts, so they had to have the patterns in it to be able to do that. So they did a great job with the vocals and lyrics.
Cool. Well, we ready to move on? That was a great way to start the show.
Yeah, I love that. That was awesome.
Okay. So the next band, A La Carte.
Yeah, I've been seeing these guys in my feed a lot.
So greetings, Nick and Jason.
Hello.
We're a morbid culinary death metal band from Wapakoneta, Ohio, named A La Carte.
So,
Our new album, Born to Entertain, is releasing on November 12th, and we would love to have you guys check it out. We could possibly set up an interview if depending on what part of Michigan you are from. Anyway, here's an EPK with a streamable album with lyrics, as well as the Google Drive link for the downloadable versions of the song. Bon appetit.
So I'm immediately like in love with this band because of the fact that they are a culinary metal band. I know that when I was in school, my instructor told me, hey, about a band like this. They all get on there. They're wearing the chef coats, to perform. I don't think this is that band. I'd be surprised. But these guys, they said they're out of Ohio.
Yeah.
Morbid culinary death metal trio. This is going to be tasty. Pun fully intended.
So I have a bunch of songs here that we can choose from.
Yes, from the Google Drive, or I went to their EPK, Born to Entertain.
I would actually like to read this as well before we get started. So
Sure.
The table is set for an over-the-top gruesome death metal dining experience you won't want to forget. Born to Entertain is a Wapakoneta, Ohio's morbid culinary death metal trio, A La Carte sophomore album-length album. That was a whole lot of mouthful. 12 tracks of meaty death metal coated with a layer of creamy grind and served with a splash of trash. Gore-filled dishes are masterfully created to obliterate your ears and taste buds. Artwork by Eder Hernandez, recorded at Face Studios in Dayton, Ohio. Mixed and mastered by Riley Allen Wichita, Guttural Secrete at Sound Horizon Studios in Las Vegas. For fans of macabre, impaled, skinless guar.
All right.
So I see they have a video for Coffin Cake.
Yeah.
You want to just crank that?
Yeah.
Because they gave me a list of songs. Their list of songs are pretty cool, too. Like, I just would like to name a few before we get into this. So we got Beef Stroganoff, Chamber Pot Pie, Ashtray Souffle. There was another one that Coffin Cake. That's amazing. Rest in Cheese. Love it. So we'll go Coffin Cake, and we'll watch this video. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that's
all right.
Sweet.
Because I'm already seeing that this video is going to be probably quite entertaining. So,
oh yeah,
here we go. Let's see what happens. Slam Worldwide.
Oh yeah. Yeah, just a typical Saturday night.
God, dude. First and foremost, that was incredible.
That was great.
Absolutely awesome. I just noticed the name on their EPK.com too is brutalgruesomefoodporn.com. So there's that too.
Yep.
I don't think that address was taken. So
no.
A la carte, you guys rule. Just for that video alone,
it was great.
Just to speak on the music, first things first, shredding guitar, shredding drums. I mean, what I liked about it, it was extreme metal, but it wasn't like over the top where you just couldn't hear anything and it was just blasting. Because you can get, when it comes to this type of death metal, especially when you don't, obviously they don't take it super serious, you know.
Yeah, they got their theme.
But the music is serious. That's what I like about it, you know. So kind of like the Convulsus band that we listened to. Like super badass players.
Yep.
But we got some tongue-in-cheek stuff happening or whatever. But cool riffs, man. Is like super technical. I don't really know what was going on in the video with the drummer. I don't know if he was absolutely not really trying to play that. Like I think he was kind of just trying to be a fuck off or something in that video.
I don't think he had a lot of room.
Yeah. But the video was absolutely amazing. He had the chef's hat on, and then his guitar had the small chef's hat that cracked me up. Like, so the visuals are awesome. Just being the culinary metal guys, that is totally cool. It sounded awesome as far as production wise. Like you could hear everything. It wasn't over the top, distorted, or anything like that. They got a great theme going, and the art is cool for this Born to Entertain. Pretty gruesome shit, but. A la carte. Yeah, I'm definitely a fan. These guys are cool. They even wear the chef stuff on stage, it looks like here, if you're looking at their pictures or whatever, so that's cool. Yeah, so this guy is guitar player, drummer, and singer. Badass, man. All the things we talk about, it sounded like they had repeating parts, too. I don't really know because I was so entertained by the video. I didn't even really kind of know. Yeah,
they definitely brought some things back. They had a good song structure in there, too. Super busy. You can tell they be prepping. They be getting in early. they doing their mise en place. These guys, I love that they're just culinary themed. I'd love to sit there and actually dive into the lyrics just to see how many cooking puns they're able to work into the lyrics. Love it. Great riffs. They stick in my head. Super busy work. Busy as a Saturday night in a slamming, hopping restaurant. They got all their friends. I wonder whose restaurant that is, like some friends, or if it's theirs, or if it says somewhere in the description or anywhere. But great stuff. They didn't get lost in the weeds with that style. Like when I see slam, sometimes like worldwide, sometimes I think I might be in for like, oh my God, here we go with the over the top slam heavy stuff. No, these guys are like technical. Grindcore, technical death metal, but really great sense of musicianship too, because you can tell these dudes practice a lot, and they know what they're doing. They do a good job of it. So happy to hear that. Happy to enjoy an a la carte afternoon breakfast. Good morning. Good work, guys. Really, really good stuff.
Yeah, I implore you, if you're watching this episode or listening to it, go over to the a la carte YouTube and watch the video Coffin Cake, because it is absolutely badass.
Yeah, worth it. Definitely worth it.
Like I said, I love bands that don't take it extremely serious. Like I'm a very serious musician. We've talked about that. My stuff has to be dark and represent everything, that I'm putting forth on the musician side. But it's cool when you have bands like this that kind of draw the line there and kind of make it comical, but not so over the top comical that it's hard to digest, but what a cool band, man.
Yeah, we're already following them from our socials, so we've been kind of interacting and engaging a little bit there, so they're hip to us, and I've been seeing them pop up, so that's cool. Now I'm glad to finally sit down and be able to listen to their music, so now I can associate something to that band logo when I see it, and maybe get psyched about them coming to our area. They're not too far away down there in Ohio, so, easy for them to get on a Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, Flint, Detroit, venue, date. So, guys, we'll be looking forward to maybe catching you in Michigan at some point. Thank you for the send-in. That was dope.
Yeah, for real. So, all right, moving on. Next submission is from Ascending Olympus. Hail, Metal Maniacs. We are ascending Olympus, a thrash death metal band from Athens, Greece. And last year, we released our debut album called Frontlines. Below, we attach the links in case you have the time to check it out, and be a great help for us if you like any of the songs to include it, /them to your podcast, Spotify, YouTube playlist, if there are any, or make a review about it. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to your feedback. That's one thing that I do have to figure out. I would like to get a Spotify playlist of the reaction episodes and the bands that we have on here. I'm not real sure how to do it because I don't have a Spotify account, so I don't know if you can make a playlist in there or not, but I think that would be kind of cool to create some of these for the reaction videos or just an ongoing one of all the bands that we covered, so it would be kind of cool. But so we got a Spotify link, and then we got the YouTube channel. And then it says, Gods Are Watching, Ascending Olympus. But they did send us with a Bandcamp, so I'm going to go to that.
Okay.
Because I'm just a fan of the Bandcamp.
Yeah, big same.
Because I can see the art. I can see what your band's all about. And this song is called Off to Different Shores. So if you're ready.
Yeah, get it.
Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, they are what they say they are.
Yes.
They are some thrash death metal. Really good stuff in there. Had some tasty riffs. Especially the first segment of the solo had a really juicy rhythm behind it that I was picking up on too. I was like, oh man, I could have them bring that out for some more riffage after the fact. That was really good. And had the guitar solo in there, so that was cool. Could hear everything in the mix. Had some bass in there rattling around. Really good drummer and solid fun rhythms. They had the song structure, which is really good. And then you got your storytelling death metal vocalist out there holding it down mid-range, guttural the whole way through. I enjoyed that. Yeah, man. I would have. I have no notes really. Maybe, yeah, maybe a little bit of distortion on that bass, but other than that, no real notes. Good stuff. Ascending Olympus from their Frontlines album, and that was one more time off to different shores. Yep. Yeah, and they had that lyric in there. plenty of off to different shores. Yeah, good times. Good song, guys. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, so with this band, it's always interesting to me when people make certain decisions about things, and it's not a decision I would make, so it makes it interesting. Like that little verse when the guitars were doing the guitar talk, but it was just like kind of like a more of an upbeat thing, and the bass was kind of carrying it. It was like,
sure,
kind of
back and forth.
So that was just an interesting thing. Like that's not something you hear all the time, like in metal or whatever. So it's just always those kind of decisions are always interesting to me because it's like but it makes you different than everybody else, and that's what I like about it. Right?
It's a good way to flesh out a verse where the vocals can be the main element in a verse. Where sometimes they just drop guitar altogether. He did this interesting thing where it was like a little left then right, the guitar talk back and forth there. That was pretty cool. I like that. I picked up that too.
Super cool art with these guys.
Yes.
I love their little logo and their little, what do you call that thing that's not like a logo, but it's almost like a symbol, I guess you could say, like kind of represents your band. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's always cool, I think, when bands have those too, so you kind of got like two logos almost, but
be a cool pendant to wear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or like patch or something,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like I said, the art is really cool. We didn't watch a video or anything because I prefer the Bandcamp link. They always work smoother.
Yeah.
Catchy song, so I'm a fan of that. I love when I hear bands that are like, I would like to hear more from this band.
Yeah.
So that, I'd like to hear other songs. And I know sometimes we talk about, just having the one vocal, but when you do have the one vocal, at least if you're enunciating and we can hear what you're saying, that helps a ton, instead of it's just one low cricket or whatever, so it's just like, the whole time. That's a little different. But like when you can hear what you're saying, these guys kept it thrash, they kept it death metal, cool riffs. The riff at the end when you thought it was done and they busted in that groove, that bitch was bitch was tasty, dude.
It was
I
good.
was like, damn. But they didn't use that the whole time either. They kept it death metal. They kept it old school. Like, these guys just remind me of a kind of an old school death metal, thrash metal band.
Yeah.
I love there was just like the main riff before they went to the guitar talk with the little like the right hand was just cruising in there, and just like the little triplet thing he was throwing in there. Yeah, love this band, dude.
Good
Thought
stuff.
they were great, dude.
Yeah, good stuff. Love it. Great send-in.
Guitar solo, too, in there.
Yep.
So we
Really
got two
good.
guitar solos today. A lot of guitar solos lately, so that's cool. I loved his phrasing, too, just as the first band that we had there.
Yeah.
Ethereal, that's what you're talking about, the guitar solo and how the phrasing was really cool. That's what makes a great guitar solo. You're not just noodling all over. Same with here. You kind of heard some of the pick taps in there and a little bit of the tapping or whatever.
Yeah. And they did a really cool trick that I like too, where you change the rhythm behind the guitar solo. Not necessarily a change of key entirely, but just a totally different rhythm. But the guitar solo just is right out front, so that's what you're hearing. Not everybody's going to know, like, oh, they changed the rhythm behind the guitar solo. They're just going to hear guitar and that's it.
Yep.
But I do like when the musicians are skilled enough to know that you can change the entire rhythm behind the solo and then just let the solo ride over that. That also shows like a lot of attention to detail and thinking out your song. Like, hey, I want a solo, but we're going to change rhythm so that I can get back to where we're going to come out with a rhythm that works for the chorus. We're going to be able to roll that up into the chorus. So that was really a well put together passage in their song there. So I enjoyed that as well.
Cool.
So thank you, Ascending Olympus. Good stuff. Good send-in.
All right, on to the next.
We keep them going.
So
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of staring at this because you know what's funny is because this band has like the way it's pronounced.
Yeah, and that doesn't help much either.
It doesn't. I read this earlier and I was like, that still doesn't help me because you could pronounce like the E anyway. So I'm just gonna say
Isingavenen.
Isinga.
Yeah, that's Isingavenen.
Isingavenen.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I didn't know if the E sound made an E sound or an A sound. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
because the pronounce doesn't help.
It doesn't.
Because I would be like Isigi Venin. Isigi Venin.
Isiga.
Isiga.
I like Isiga.
Okay, that's fine. I'll go with whatever. You are the pronunciation correspondent on this show, so I am not.
I am the resident English major.
So, Isiga Venin, pronounce Isiga Venin, we'll just say that, is a collaborative dark melodic metal project founded in 2020 by guitarist, keyboardist Mark Williams, handful of bands here, featuring vocalist Curtis Fitzpatrick, handful of bands, and bassist Chris Brandon, who Chris Brandon is also in Goik's song. Remember we did so we'll say that. So what's up, Chris? Dead, deceased, anger, overdose. As of 2023, Williams and Fitzpatrick, friends since childhood, have worked together on and off for 25 years. Brandon and Williams became acquainted through a mutual friend during an interview for YouTube. The band's name, German for icy veins, was inspired by Williams after his time living in Germany from 2005 to 2009. Okay. It lends to a cold, dark, and melancholic style characterized by heavy synth use and haunting melodies with a blackened touch. Williams released his debut single, A Frigid Emptiness, in 2021, and 2 years later with the addition of Brandon Fitzpatrick. Sige Venin debuted with his first album, Ghost of Yesterday. At the time, the three musicians were spread across continents, while Brandon living in South Korea and Williams and Fitzpatrick's in the USA. Despite the technical and creative challenges that come with working on an album completely digitally, Sige Venin managed to carve a place for itself within the metal scene thanks to its unique sound. Ghost of Yesterday has received positive reviews from metal music publications such as Occult Metal Zine, who referred to the band style as modern, atmospheric, and melodic sounding. Hellfire magazine, a German publication, calls the album a melancholic journey and likens it to a celebrated metal band Amon Amarth. Sige Venin has also likened to groups such as Insomnian and Thorals of Dawn and some other group that I'm not even going to try to say.
Agatha Damon.
Man, some of these band names, like if you're gonna have a band name, you gotta have something people can say because they're not gonna remember it, man. That's just the way I see it.
Yeah, hey. Yeah. It pass the water cooler check,
right?
Like Monday morning, I roll up. Hey, man, I went out to this concert this weekend and I saw this band, and you want that to be able to roll off your tongue very easily for everybody in the office to be like, oh, I'll go home and check that out. You know, if they're from another part of the world, maybe easier for them to say. Like Icy Veins, not a problem here in America. I can say Icy Veins.
Right.
Isiga Venin, I'm making shit up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not anything. I would be like, this dude said it was something. I don't remember the band name, but they were pretty cool, you know. So
yeah.
I don't know. That's just always a weird thing for me when these band names have these things you'll never remember what they are. You know, some weird name of like a surgery or some shit or some medical condition. But I guess you're being creative as well. Like you don't have the same band name as everybody else or whatever. So that helps, you know.
Got a one of a kind here.
They have a couple more paragraphs, but I'm not even going to go into that because that's just going to be a whole lot of reading. But it does say they are currently based in the USA, with Brandon having returned to Georgia and Williams and Fitzpatrick in Texas and Arkansas, respectively.
Okay.
So
I've got high hopes.
Yep.
Just having featured one of these members before on the podcast and knowing what they're capable of.
So you can find the music wherever music can be found. They gave us a YouTube link. This song is called Seaforge by Sige Venin.
Isiga Venin.
Isiga, yeah. See, I can't even remember it. And you just said it 9 times for me. So
Isiga Venin.
Isiga Venin.
I want him to get back to us and tell us how wrong we are.
Ooh, some more water stuff.
Oh, yeah.
another water band. All about the water today on this Sunday.
Yeah, some aqua metal.
So, say the band name for me one more time, Nick.
I'm going to say Eisiga Venin.
Eisiga Venin.
Eisiga Venin.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably more
Eisiga
Venin, because that sounds a little more German. But, yeah, for me, let's see, where do I start? Yeah, it did have some kind of that, like, Blackened touch, some kind of with the synth going on there or whatever. I mean,
that beat.
Yeah, you had some callbacks for me.
A lot of,
you had some clean singing, you had some heavy singing, so that was cool.
Yep.
I did like a couple of the guitar riffs in there were pretty cool. I did like that. Yeah, you could understand what he was saying. The video that they have here of the lyric video, that definitely helped because you could read along with what he was saying, so that always helps too. So
like that, like putting the work in to do something like that.
Bass guitar was banging on that too because it was holding down the low. You could hear it when he went up a register or whatever. Wasn't necessarily doing anything super crazy or whatever, but that's not necessary. But I kind of felt like if what they were going for, they accomplished. You know, that was just.
Yeah,
so I like that, and you know, if it's a online band or whatever, if I did have to give some feedback to this, it would just be the drums on a few parts, like the rolls, sounded really like unnatural and weird, like because I'm assuming maybe it's like a computer program drum because that's what it sounded like, just because how like stiff it was, but like the fills needed to be a little more interesting because it was like a bad drummer on the computer almost, like you know what I mean, just with but it was just on the fills because like on the thrash part or like that, like, you know, kind of skanky beat or whatever, like that part was all really cool sounding, and it gave me like At the Gates' Carcass type vibe with that. So I thought that was cool. And then only other, if I could give one more little piece of feedback, was just I felt like during the verses when he was doing those like heavy vocals, it almost kind of like his vocal was off the rhythm a little bit. Like it was kind of hard to follow because I was listening to his vocal, but it was almost a different rhythm than what the
the vocals were kind of landing late on the beat. Is what it was.
Okay, I'm glad you heard that too because I wasn't sure. It just seemed like it wasn't exactly going with the drum beat on that. But other than that, it was pretty cool. I mean, they accomplished what they were trying to accomplish, and I always give props to bands like that. So
fun style,
cool.
You know, like it had like a black metal vibe, like a melodic black metal vibe during the verses. And then you'd have the choruses, which almost, again, maybe it's a power metal morning, but you bring the clean vocals in, and I'm calling you power metal. but they had that to break it up, so that was nice. And then they went into that nice, interesting passage where it was just instrumental and everything kind of broke down, and they had like the keys, almost like a piano type instrumentation there with the bass standing out. And so I really appreciated that. I like the use of the two guitars too. So he's just probably the single one guitarist, but you had like the chord progression, but then he'd had like the tremolo melody going. And basically would have been like the vocal harmony if we weren't doing fry vocals on the entire thing, or most of it anyway. But Eisiga Venin. We're gonna get it right. I'm gonna watch a bunch of videos until I find these words spoken aloud.
Hell yeah.
Icy veins in German, and I'm gonna Google it. We're gonna get it right. We're gonna come back and get it right. But yeah, great send in. Sea Forged was the video, so a nice little cool lyric video. More watery stuff to swim through this morning. Good stuff. Thank you guys. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it was kind of like this dark and black section, and then they kind of got like totally switched gears and almost got like kind of poppy happy like during that chorus with the clean singing. So it was kind of like a, you know, a yin and yang to the song, so that was kind of cool. So, all right. Next band, Attrition Cult. So we are familiar with these guys.
Very, yes.
They just played at Rake.
Yep.
Yeah. So
put on a good show too. Good set.
Like last week or something, and I think they dropped a member too. They were a 5-piece, now they're a 4. They only had one guitar player, right?
That's what I thought. We'd seen them at least twice prior to that, both you and I. So we were up to 3 times seeing these guys, and with their third show that we attended being their best performance. Now, to me, sometimes I look at what's changed, and I'm certain they went down from a 5-piece to a 4-piece. I'm sure they were 2 guitarists before.
Yeah, they were.
And they were just the single one on this evening, last time at Rake. And I feel like, well, maybe that's the difference maker right there. As you go, you have one less instrument making noise on stage, and now there's a lot more clarity. And I absolutely love their latest performance at Rake. I was into it the whole time, start to finish. And usually if you guys see me out of the show, that's what you can expect to hold me accountable to, is that I'm there to watch your band. I'm not going to be in the hallway. I'm not going to be outside smoking. I only do those things between sets when there's setup, tear down. And then when I know you're about to be on, you should reasonably expect me to be watching your band.
Right.
There could be circumstances where I don't, like, oh my God, rush call, I gotta go. Like, it's just happening, I have to go, or whatever happens. But I thought they did a great set out there at Rake. It sounded really good, probably the best that I've heard them sound, and I really appreciated it. And it was just a whole mood in the air that night where a band like them goes on, they got the ski masks on, and it's unsettling. It's just something about it. Like, I didn't know if they were I thought maybe they changed it a little bit because they didn't wear them while they were tuning.
Oh,
and then sure enough, as soon as they're ready to go, here comes the masks, and I'm like, it puts a pit in my stomach. But that's the vibe, like you kind of want to have that factor when you're in a grim, like doom death metal band. And these guys, their style is kind of everywhere from black to doom, which and death metal. So all of those things basically balled up make yourself an attrition cult.
And the very first Heart on Your Sleeve Fest. Yep. We watched them play, and then we kind of talked to them a little bit that day or whatever. So you guys can go check that out, that we talked to them on the show. But it just says, hello, my name is Dylan. I play drums in the black death metal band Attrition Cult from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Okay.
I've attached our song Tied Off and Tortured from our upcoming self-titled EP, which will be available later this month. So this is out now, so go check this out if you like this song. It says these songs were recorded and mixed by Zach Krause and mastered by Pete Grossman of Bricktop Studios in Chicago, Illinois.
Okay.
Here we go. Tied Off and Tortured.
Brutal. Yeah, and that was everything that they described themselves to be. Black Death, Doom. They didn't use the word Doom, I did, but it was in there. So really good. maximum guitar volume.
Yeah.
That was just loud guitar. But I enjoyed it. Usually, if you get a chance to see these guys live, their vocalist is going to be a wild card. Like you're not like, I don't know that his live performance translated as well to what he did. It was fine.
Yeah.
On the album, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's good. But seeing them live, like he's like next level with the antics and the over the top wailing, and you basically feel like somebody's like dying in the room, like being stabbed to death or something. It's brutal. If you get a chance to see Attrition Cult live, you're in for a ride. But that was a pretty good representation of what they do. I think that there's a little more variety when you get to listen to it more. There's a little bit more nuance and melody to some of the guitar work. As they go throughout a set of 20 to 30 minutes, you're going to get a little more variety in the guitar work there. But that one was pretty punishing. That was in your face, brutal, upbeat. And there's even a touch of black metal in there.
Yeah.
Like there's a little Blackened in there, so I appreciate that. As long like full scale black metal, probably going to lose me. But when you're just putting it in like as a flavor, as a touch, like I like it. So Attrition Cult with the Send In. Did we get it tied off and tortured?
Yeah.
Good song, guys. Appreciate you. I guess before I kick over to you, Jay, my only critique or constructive criticism or feedback would be a little more bass in the mix. Like I know you have a bass player, so I mean, just turn him up in the mix. Maybe you gotta field that before you print it and send it out to be mastered. You gotta say we want a little more bass in the mix, just something. Because there were parts in there when you did that power chord progression where, there could have been either like a guitar solo happening there. If that's not your style, fine. Not everybody needs a guitar solo. There could have been a little more bass in the mix during that part. That would have really helped that part out. But I still enjoyed it. I mean, you could see my reaction while I'm like listening to it. I'm just straight headbanging through this one. So cool stuff, man. What do you think, Jay?
I think there's being brutal and then being brutal for the sake of being brutal, and that's this band. It's just like everything's turned up to 11.
Yeah.
Like when you see them live, sometimes and I'll be fully transparent. Sometimes the third time that we seen them was just hard because there's so much feedback, and even with my earplugs in, it's just too much noise. And some people just want the noise. They want the chaos.
Right.
They want the nurse torture, the mask with all the pedals, and they want to turn, and they just make all this racket. And sometimes it gets into the racket territory for me, and I'm just not a fan of that. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that these guys are not good, because the times we've seen them, they're good at what they do.
Yeah.
I have no idea how they know where they're at in the song, because it just sounds like everybody's on full tilt until they get to the part where they go dun dun dun.
Right.
And I'm not like, I don't think I'm like coming down on the band. I'm just saying what I personally like isn't normally stuff like this. I've heard them called like bestial war metal or something. Okay. I don't really know, but I do like the fact that you're extreme metal and you got to be carrying the flag, and these guys carry the flag of like, let's just turn it up to 11 and fucking go,
Yeah.
But these guys sound like these guys, and they're from around here, so I fucking kudos to them, because they're doing something nobody else is doing.
It's true.
Everybody else has some melody or some breakdown or some groove. There was a hint of groove in there for a second. There was a hint of something that you could grasp onto, but it's just my personal taste. It doesn't mean it's not bad. It doesn't mean it's not for other people. But for me, it's just too much. It's just an onslaught of like, I don't know what to do with this. It's like everything's in the blender, wrenches, fucking, you know what I mean? Every piece of metal from the garage, wood, and you just turn the blender on. It's just like, and that's just kind of how it is for me, So
they did have the amps to 11. It felt like listening to the recording, it was like they had peak volume going throughout that wave the whole time. So,
but for the same thing that I would critique them for is the same thing that I'd also give them praise for, is the fact that, like I said, you don't know where you're at in the song, so you got to know what the hell you're doing and how tight you are to be able to, because the drums are on point. Like the riffs, when they did break it down, cool, heavy, like that sounded badass. I need like 60% of that, and maybe 20%, and then 20% of something else, a little more melodic. That's just for me. But if this is what you're going for, and this is what you're trying to accomplish, you did it. This song was 2 minutes and 43 seconds. There was 2 minutes and 41.5 seconds of vocals on this one.
Yeah.
So it was just vocal, vocal, vocal. You don't know what he's saying either. And that might be just my age showing that I need a little. I need something to grasp onto. I need a little more something of substance that carries me through. But that's just a personal opinion. Doesn't mean this wasn't great. I thought it sounded pretty good too, because it was pretty high on the guitars, but it was like that onslaught. It gives you that uneasy feeling. The same when you see them live and they're standing there with their masks on and they're just the feedback's going and everything's just cranked to 11. It's just this very uneasy feeling. So they have something great going for them. And, you know, don't take what I say, you know, that's just my personal opinion and what I would, you know, what I'd like to hear. As far as this song goes, I thought it was pretty fucking cool as far as like when they did break it down and they gave me something that I could grasp onto. I just not really sure what's happening during that part where just the drums are just doing this and the guitars doing all this. I don't really know.
Yeah, I think part of it is it's meant to make the hair on your arms and neck stand up.
Yeah.
And they do approach that kind of almost a white noise with how loud they are.
Yeah.
And that's just one element. And look, it's not in their descriptor, but they are kind of a noise metal band too. At the end of the day, they do a lot of the feedback. They do it, especially with the wailing vocalist. That kind of gets noisy. But hey, there's a following and there's a fan base for that style of music, and these guys do a pretty good job of what they do. And you know, more props to them. They turn up on some shows here and there.
Yeah,
I know they're going to be out, so I just enjoy it more and more. I'd like to watch them grow from where we first saw them to where they are now. And I think there's a little bit more variety live. Like, let's not get crazy. Like, we're not talking about sing-along choruses. We're not talking about upbeat. We're really not even talking about a lot of melody here. But they do write music for people who like dark, droney, almost doomy, but also with the black and grind in there as well. So they got a variety. None of it's super melodic, and that's fine. They know who they are and what they're doing. They're really not trying to win people over, but they're probably doing what they really enjoy.
Yep.
And I think if they keep doing that, getting in the room, doing the practices, and writing the songs, and they'll change however they want to change, but they don't have to change for anybody. They just write what they like, and I like to see them get better as they go. And I thought it was pretty good send-in, guys. I know what you can do, and I'm rooting for you. You know, keep doing your thing, and we'll see you around at the show sometime soon, I believe.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm rooting for them too. I hope that they can like continue to push whatever boundaries that they want, because like I said, there is nothing else that sounds like this as far as like in our scene. Like there's not, or if there is, it's just some guys in the basement doing it. But as far as getting on shows, they're at the Throne and Black Temple show that will probably, I think it's this upcoming weekend. Obviously, it'll be gone by the time this episode airs or whatever. But they're jumping on shows, and you know they stand for extreme metal, so you know that's something that you're carrying the flag for that. So I'll always support you. I want to see these guys do whatever they you know suit out to do. And I thought they were super nice guys too. When we talked to them, I thought they were really cool dudes. So I mean, you know, and I didn't want to sound too harsh with it. I was just saying like what appeals to me. Like I have to be transparent and honest. That's what we're here to react to music. You know, I tried to pull out all the good parts, but you know, for me, I just couldn't put an album on of this. It's just not. You know, and I listen to some wild shit too, you know, so it's just this is just a little bit too over the top for me even, so but I think there's enough out there for everybody, so you know, keep doing it, keep grinding, keep getting it, grinding literally.
Yeah, we see you. So we got another one with another name, Orimnos. I'm going with Orimnos.
Okay. All right.
Orimnos. Orimnos.
Hey, who'd you see at the show this weekend?
Orimnos.
What was that?
Ariamnos. Oreos Manos. Oreos in my nose.
That's that new Post Malone flavor. Oreos Manos. Ariamnos.
Sorry,
We're gonna
guys.
say that. Yeah. Ariamnos. Hello.
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 Resubmitted. So this is probably one of those instances I was trying to make sense of what this sentence said. Hello, resubmitting just in case. I saw a post, so I figured better safe than sorry. So they must have submitted before, and it was just a long time coming. So thank you for being patient with us. Ariamnos is from Rochester, New York. The singer on the album is from the Sierra Mountains in California. His name is Matt. We play old school death metal mixed with doom. To me, it's just death metal, but I sent a specific song last submission, but I'll send the whole album this time. Hope this finds you guys. I love listening to these episodes. Gives unsigned underground bands some much-needed exposure. While we were playing out now as a three-piece, guitar, drummer, live in New York, vocalist, that album is just me, Sam, guitars, and Matt, as mentioned on vocals.
Okay.
The first song of the album is just an intro with no vocals. Just wanted to give you a heads up in case you wanted to pick it. So
appreciate that.
Yes. Thank you for that.
All right, so I'm looking for pronunciation, and I've got, let's see here, what does this say? Waiting for the, say it. Oryamnos.
Oryamnos.
We were right.
Okay.
One of them was right.
One of them.
It's a mountain goat.
Is it?
Yep, it's a mountain goat.
No kidding.
Oryamnos americanus.
All right, so we're gonna play this, but the song that comes up is called "The Granite Wall," and that's not the intro. So I'm assuming that's kind of.
That's like toward the end of the CD, and it's a 6-minute track, but they're all long, so it's
Well,
all
the
good.
one that pops up on Bandcamp, it says "The Granite Wall" by Oryamnos.
Yeah.
233.
Oh.
Is that the whole album?
That's the intro.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
I'd skip down, and then you can see Granite Walls down there.
I mean, they're all about 6, so
yeah.
let's go Granite Walls.
Yeah.
Let's just check it out. Here we go. Boom.
saved all the vocals for the end.
Jeez. Okay. So Oriamnos, or Mountain Goat.
Mountain Goat.
Yeah, as far as feedback on this, loving the artwork. We'll start there. Just this wintry, cold, dead
staircase
of
death.
Yes. You'll slip and fall on that for sure.
Yeah.
Meet your demise.
Frozen.
The riffage was cool, nice and heavy on the guitars, just that low end. I see where they kind of throwing that Doom moniker a little bit, because I hear like some Entombed or Candlemass bleeding through on some of this.
Yeah, Obituary was another.
Yep,
reference.
That's a good one,
especially
with the vocals and like some of the reverb on that.
Yep.
And there was an actual Cookie Monster at the end there, like he's like rah, 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 rah. So he stayed true to the Cookie Monster vocal. My bad. Yeah, all in all, pretty cool, man. I liked it. See, he kind of got in some of that noisy territory, but then they kind of pulled out of that, right?
Yeah,
and then they hit you with some melody, and they hit you with that over-the-top reverby guitar that brings into some of that Blackened atmospheric doom vibe to there. So all in all, cool song. Cool art, cool song. I could hear the bass in there a little bit.
Yeah, probably dirty though.
Yeah, pretty dirty, and the drums were tasty. But usually you leave the bass just dirty on this kind of anyway, or whatever. But
so to me, this falls into the category of that HM2 style death metal, that old school death metal, that brutal
Swedish kind of.
Yeah, that buzzsaw. Entombed definitely was like the main thing I got out of this, and pretty good stuff. I felt like there were parts where the vocals disappeared for a long stretch. Maybe would have said, let's bring some vocals in here, because they went on at length with some space and some atmosphere building, but it was starting to feel like it either needed a guitar solo or something to step up and fill that space. So some of it ran a little long, where there was like no storytelling happening and no vocals happening. And I feel like the singer sessions with the guy from the last band, because it's no enunciation. It's just like guttural, reverb-laden vocals, which is it's just fine.
More of a rhythm and sound at that point than an actual vocal.
Yeah. But, I like it for what it is. Like I could tell, you guys' influence are coming through real crystal clear there with the Entombed and the Obituary. You nailed it. I think if you want to carry that Obituary reference, you gotta throw in those high-pitched wailing screams that you get from an Obituary type of band. That's the one thing that was missing from that reference, was that when I hear Obituary as a name, yes, I know what their band sounds like, but to me, the most unique factor of that band is their vocalist. So John Tardy, I believe it is, and Don is his brother on the kit. So that's the one thing for me when we're saying Obituary, is I want to hear like one of the Tardy brothers screaming at me like a wailing banshee. Yeah, you kind of need to twist and contort your jaw and unhinge it, or curl the tongue. See Travis Ryan for a vocal lesson. But yeah, good stuff, fun, and I appreciate it. Style of music like that, I kind of want to hear you rip a solo, if that's in your repertoire, if that's in your bag. Let's burn one up on the fretboard, boys, and then it's full send for me. But I can appreciate that as it is. Definitely doomy, sludgy death, and buzzsaw. So good stuff. Oriamos. I feel like today is the foreign word day.
Yeah.
Oriamos. Oreos in my nose.
Cool.
I love it. Having fun. Just having fun this morning. Good stuff.
Yeah, I messed with that. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. True Devil. Horns up, Metal Maniacs. We are True Devil, hell-raising hard rockers from Detroit.
All right.
Would you be interested in reacting to our brand spanking new song lyric video for SDON? Here's a link to the new video, and a free download link to our 3 debut singles, including the brand spanking new Scorcher SDON. They absolutely slay. I've also included our band bio photo and lyric sheet.
Okay.
And they have a truedevildetroit.com. Thank you for your ears, time, and consideration. Rock on. Dana Deadly.
Okay, so the SDON is same day, old news. Same day, old news. Had to look down at the lyrics to find that.
So here's a little bit more about the band because they have a .com, so that's cool.
Okay.
So unleash your inner demons with the Detroit hard rock Hellraisers True Devil. True Devil's visceral vocals, dueling guitar slayers, and scorching rhythm section are everything rock and roll should be. Proactive, dangerous, and completely enthralling. Drawing inspiration from Alice in Chains, Pantera, Queens of the Stone Age, Monster Magnet, Velvet Revolver, Motorhead, and Danzig, True Devil's sound is still wholly, or should we say, wholly, their own. Fronted by former Sever It All lead singer Mark Stapleton, True Devil also features members of industrial cult favorites Crud and outlaw rockers Dead and Five. Now with the release of the band's high-wattage debut singles, Rips My Heart Out, Divisible, and SDON, produced by Andy Patalan of 90s hitmaker Sponge, True Devil will be bringing their horn-throwing, mosh pit-inducing rock to a venue near you. Witness the raw power and magnetic energy of True Devil because hell hath no fury like these riveting rock disciples. True Devil is Mark Stapleton vocals, Dana Deadly Forrester bass, Brent Hall guitar, Jeff Layfield guitar, James Trunco on the drums.
All right.
So let's see what we got here.
This video's got some views on it. That's cool.
Pop her up. True Devil. Gonna start playing. Ready?
Yeah.
Right here, right now.
rock and roll, dude.
Yep, so True Devil, so they're from Detroit. That's awesome. Shout out, guys. We're over here on the other side of 96. So that gave me big Stone Temple Pilot vibes. I know they mentioned a couple other grunge rock bands, but immediately to me, with the harmonics, that riff just screamed to me like Stone Temple Pilots. And I'm for that life. I absolutely love that band. Hard rock all the way. We're always going to extend the olive branch. Of course, we're here for the metal, but I think most metalheads will be okay with that. Like, I think most metalheads would be like, yeah, that's fine. In fact, they'd probably prefer that to some other styles of metal. They'll be like, just give me something I can relate to and understand. So that said, I thought you guys did a great job. Like staying true to what you're categorizing yourself as. If it's a Alice in Chains style 90s grunge rock band, I mean, that's totally cool. I think there's still a place for that in today's music. And I like that's rough around the edges. And that might be like, just where you're at getting started, and maybe you get a more polished sound down the road. But I think that some music fans are getting a little sick of the overly polished rock and or metal to where it's just like, it just sounds like studio magic the whole way. This sounded like, mics on the cabs, and you're getting the air, and you're getting a rough sound. You're almost maybe to the point of clipping. Again, a big sound wave here in the file. But I like that a lot. So Same Day Old News had good, you had your hard rock structure in there. You put a little double bass in at the end. Metalhead's going to love that. Get a little heavy toward the end of the song. That's good stuff. Jay, you want to weigh in on the True Devil for us?
Yeah. It's hard rock.
Yep.
Hell-raising hard rock, I don't have anything against any kind of music like that. It's not necessarily extreme metal, but that's okay. We, like you said, we extend the olive branch to all kinds of different send-ins. So
yeah.
Great song structure. Like if you're just looking for a song, he really brought home the part of the Same Day Old News. It gave me the Monster Magnet vibes. Gave me almost like our local Dave Stark's band there, the
Product of Society
type vibes. Just keeping that like hard rock alive. Yeah, that. It sounded like something that could be on the radio. Yeah. I didn't have any qualms with any of the production. I thought it sounded pretty good. Yeah. So but like you said, it did sound a little more natural, which is fine. It doesn't have to be completely pristine and polished all of the time or exactly on grid or whatever. But I feel like another band that whatever they're set out to do, they're actually accomplishing. So rock on with that. Yeah. The lyric video was kind of cool. How that was generated with the different like zombies and stuff like that.
Little World War Z action.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
I looked at some of their other art. The other art kind of goes along with what they're trying to accomplish. Yeah, now, I'm assuming there must be kind of like other bands out there that are this style that they're playing shows with. Like there must be more rock bands, right? Because this is kind of its own style. This type of band isn't going to jump on a show with Attrition Cult or Throne or Black Temple, so like there must be a whole market for this that I'm not aware of, obviously. But this would go over more in the bars. This would be more of the dancing, the more of the accessible grunge rock type thing or whatever. But I thought it was a good song. I did like the little double bass touch. Another thing that screamed out to me was like maybe more like a Disturbed. I thought it was cool that he did do some of the different vocals too. He kind of had like the roughness in his vocal, but then he kind of had some of the cleaner when he
on the
pre-chorus before they jumped in there. And I thought that was pretty interesting because he was showing some range there or whatever. I didn't hear a lot of bass, but it
was in there. It was like a softer sound. Like it wasn't dirty or distorted at all, but I could hear it in the mix. Could come up a little bit on the bass too, to be honest with you.
But you're holding down the guitar, and you're holding down the 4-5 chords that you picked to, lay this song out or whatever. But yeah, man, I mean, all in all, a pretty cool song,
Yeah, appreciate the send in.
Yeah,
We're gonna give you guys the tag when the video drops, and cool stuff. True Devil, love it. Right out of Detroit.
Cool. All right, last submission for today.
Yes.
This is called Forge the Sun. Hey, y'all, we think you should check out our latest single, Fall and Rot, tonight on your podcast. We'd also be down to discuss the band and the song on the air as well.
Okay.
So I got a couple links here. I'm assuming you're just going to click this top one and it's going to happen. Maybe not. That's not what's happening. This one I didn't.
The distro kid.
Okay, here we go. This is a YouTube video, so another...
Forge the Sun. Take it away, Jay.
Okay. So I didn't really even know what to expect, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't a lot when they sent the email, but they did give us all the links. But then now as I'm looking at them while listening to the song, I was pleasantly surprised. It does say this is our hardcore song, or it says our hardcore song, so I'm assuming maybe some of their other songs aren't as heavy or as crazy.
Right.
I guess you would say.
Sure.
But, man, all in all, I mean, another good, like, song structure, songwriting on it.
Yeah.
Cool female vocals. I also heard, like, almost like a death metal vocal adding to, like, a low on the high, like, on some of the choruses. The riffs were pretty cool. Sounded really natural to me, a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I do like the parts where the bass stuck out, transitioning into some of the other riffs.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cool on the songwriting front. I don't really see a lot of art, but I do like this picture here that was for the video on YouTube or whatever. It's kind of a fun little, like, 1950s looking get up or set up here, like they're almost like the Beatles or something. And,
yeah.
But I see they're playing Upheaval Fest.
Yep.
So there's that for them. Yeah.
Sporting it today. Sporting it.
And
I'll be there on the day that they're performing as well, so maybe I'll have a chance to check them out.
Cool. So, yeah, I mean, good song all in all. It was almost like a step up from the True Devil, a little bit heavier than that.
Yeah.
You know, we've kind of went all over the board on this episode, from the most extreme to
the
hard rock. So this episode's been all over the place. But all in all, I thought it was pretty cool, man. I didn't really have no critiques. I thought it sounded good. I really felt the drums carried it a lot because of the way it broke down. But I'm also seeing some pictures here of them playing, like, acoustic guitar and singing and stuff, too. So they must – and I've seen something here that says something about them being more progressive. Okay. Detroit heavy prog rockers, it says. So, But, yeah, man, pretty cool song all in all.
Yeah, I would call it – when I hear something like this, I have a term that I like to see catch on, and it's death rock, where it's not quite death metal, but because of the fact that we're using that fry vocal over what would otherwise be – pretty much a hard rock song, because you're not doing the trem pick, you're not doing a lot of things that musically speaking would be considered death metal. You're not relying on heavy fast riffs, palm muting. This was like a hard rock song in its chord progression, and it stayed true to that. Like the similarity between like the verses and the choruses, they went together pretty well. And then we ended it on in like a solo lead section where they transitioned into like this outro passage. The one thing that was weird for me or unique altogether is there was that clean vocal up front, you know, like she did some singing in the beginning and then they just said scream over the rest of it. So I thought we would hear more of the clean vocal, but we did not. It was just kind of like an introductory to the song, you know, or the story, if you will. And then she went into the fry vocal, which I got to say, really cool fry vocal. I really enjoyed that. That's probably the main one that I would like to hear from that band. I would like to hear the music even heavier if you got it. Like, I mean, if you're progressive, that's great. I'm all for instrumentation and musicality, and we're big on musicianship here for sure. And so I'd be for that, but that vocal to me was like the main thing I wanted to hear more of. Like, let's get chunky, let's get thick behind it with the palm mutes and some riffage. But to me, it felt like I could see this band on a bill with the band that was on just prior to them, the True Devil. Like I'd catch them at the same show. That would make sense to me.
Yeah, for sure.
They fit together very well, I thought. So if you Forge the Sun, if you're friends with True Devil, or if you're not yet, link up, because I think you guys go on the bill together very nice. But, yeah, pretty cool song. I enjoyed it. And, yeah, maybe I'll get a chance to see him out at Upheaval. I will be there on that Saturday, wishing that there was a better headliner. Oh, I said it. I already
burned by the Upheaval.
Yeah, I got burnt. I should have waited. But now I get to go. We'll have a good time. I get to see
it's fun.
Yellow Wolf.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, like I said, he puts on a good show.
Stark hit me up. He wanted to see if I was going to come off my tickets.
Oh, really?
He's like, I'll go see Yellow Wolf. I didn't know he was going to be there. I was like, no, we're committed. We're going to go. Like,
yeah, it's going to be experience. It'll be fun. I had fun when I went.
Yeah,
there were some cool bands when I went. But
it's a date day. The wife and I will walk around and get some sun and enjoy the tunes, and we're not going to be upset about it.
Yeah, so real quick, I'll just finish the episode off
Yeah.
because they did send this bio in. So it just says they were formed in 2018. Forge the Sun has emerged as a standout in the Detroit music scene with their genre-blending sound, progressive riffs, and powerhouse vocals. Their 2023 album Heart of the Sunrise propelled them on their first tour, sharing the stage with acts like Winger, Eve 6, Hailstorm, Eva Under Fire, and It's Not For Me.
Okay.
So, yeah, pretty cool.
Eva
they have more here. Hit these guys up if you're interested in Forge the Sun. They got a lot to show, and they got a lot of different things going on here. And for everybody else, if you enjoyed this podcast and you have a band or you have music that you want to send in for us to possibly review when we get to it, so hopefully you watch the first 10 minutes of this podcast to know that we will get to your submissions. We will get to them. We just only do so many, and this isn't our entire podcast, but we try to put these underground and other acts on some kind of display like the other guys had mentioned, so I appreciate them saying that and knowing when we do that. You could submit to the metalmaniacs.mi@gmail.com if you want to send anything in for us to check out. The more information we have, the better as well. So just keep that in mind. If you have, instead of one sentence in an MP3, if you got a bio, you got a website, we'd like to check all that out. We'd like to check out the art, videos if you have it. Bandcamp links are always the best, but I understand if you have a video and you want people to watch it too, because we can at least check that stuff out. So with that being said, anything else about this episode?
The last band there, Forge the Sun, a couple of cool T-shirts for display for sale on their merch store, so those look good. Good send-ins, everybody. Thank you. We appreciate you, and keep doing what you do, and rock on. Yeah, thanks for supporting the show. Keep it metal. Peace.
Thank you so much for checking out the episode. Be sure to hit that like button and give us a share.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed our podcast today, please give it a rating on your streaming service to help us gain some exposure.
And if you really enjoyed the show, please give us a follow or hit that subscribe button and come hang out with us every week. And remember, keep it metal.